Welcome, everybody, to some Virtue Gaming action leading into playoffs tonight. I'm Sovereign, joined by Tiger58. How are you doing tonight, Tiger?
Pretty good. I'm excited to see. We've got a week 7 matchup. This is the last week going into playoffs. Both of these teams should be locked in, but playing for some seeding. Glaive Emerald 5-1 is the number one team in the Ionia division. Virtue Gaming Unity is 3-3 right now, so right in the middle of the pack. I believe that they were listed in the 6th spot, but there can be a lot of change this week, Sovereign. So I'm looking forward to this match.
Absolutely. And some very standard bans coming through already through this relatively quick draft. Viego, Gwen, and Zeri dropped by the side of Glaive, with Hecarim and Jinx hitting the table for Virtue.
Yeah, I did a little bit of looking into what these teams have played in recent weeks. A lot of the Jinx being picked up for Glaive Emerald, so I like that ban here. The Thresh Insta-Lock as the first pick, I like a lot as well, because out of the ADCs that I saw, the only one that's left open that Virtue was playing was the Aphelios, but Aphelios is a lot weaker without Thresh, so maybe that pushes Virtue to picking a different style of ADC. Maybe wait on that for a little while and get later into the picks and bans before we see that role picked up. I wouldn't mind seeing a support pickup here. Karma would make a lot of sense. Definitely getting some lane priority. So we'll see if that gets matched with another strong laner in the bot lane.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far this season, Arch has played a lot of Zeri, Aphelios, Jinx, a lot of these hyper carry style of AD carries, but also some mixture picks in here. We've got some Caitlyn, we've got some Ziggs as well. Virtue definitely has the option here. Actually going to hover the Ezreal for now, going for a relatively safe bot lane after this Thresh pick.
Yeah, a lot of poke there. Ezreal can be decent at just sustaining through the laning phase, staying at a safe distance. Very difficult to gank onto an Ezreal after he gets his Arcane Shift available. But that means that the Aphelios will be available for Glaive Emerald, so playing out the blue side of this draft very nicely. The other thing that comes to mind when I see a Karma is that it's got a little bit of flexibility. You could pivot towards having the Karma in the mid lane. Even top lane Karma has been a successful pick in the past. Not sure if Virtue is going to use Karma as a flex, but they definitely have that option available to them now. Glaive, I'm wondering if they'll pick up a jungler here. We already saw a few jungle bans in the Hecarim and Viego. Maybe they'll want to lock something in before the second phase of bans.
Yeah, Glaive going to lock in the Udyr here, which is going to be the first unique pick, or first unique Udyr pick for Glaive so far this split. As we jump into the second phase of, the last pick of the first round, Virtue likely going to match the jungle here. Very common, at least into the Udyr right now, are things like the Hecarim, which we have seen Zohair play already this season, but it will actually be the Ornn with that R3.
Yeah, I like Ornn R3 a lot, especially when the other side has not picked up a top laner yet, because you can ban out some of the things that are going to punish Ornn the hardest. I've seen a lot of Camille coming out from Glaive, so I'd expect that ban to hit the ban table, and then maybe something like a range top. I've seen some Akshan recently as a top laner. That could be very punishing for Ornn, or maybe something like a Gnar. I'm not sure. But that means that they can protect the Ornn pick with some bans, and then they can get a counter pick mid on R5. So I definitely like the angle a lot here. Going to allow a few more junglers to be banned out before they can get a jungler of their own, though. So we'll see what Virtue ends up going with as their jungler on R4, hopefully.
Yeah, we will see Lilia and Ari dropped away with these next few bans coming through. Virtue definitely has a very interesting position that they can be in, at least assuming that this R4 will actually be a jungle pick. With that Lilia being dropped away, we're likely going to see something to the effect of the Diana, which would actually pair very, very nicely into what Virtue's drafting here with that safe bot lane. They have a lot of good engage, at least to start off a fight with that Ornn to set up for a Diana. And it's going to be a Corki ban, actually, for the last one here for Glaive.
Yeah, I think that what we need to see for Virtue is a winning lane mid, or else they may be in a lot of trouble here and just getting beat out in the early game. I think that Ezreal Karma is probably going
Oh.
to go even with Thresh. You're going to pick up the Orianna already, so maybe it just noting that the ban of Corki hitting the table makes the Orianna a lot less punishable. Ari also going to be removed. So maybe Oriana's top counters are not available. I haven't studied all the Oriana matchups, but they're going to have a good team fight here. A pretty big layering of a wombo combo with Oriana or an Ezreal Karma. It's going to be a lot of poke as well. So I would expect a jungler that can kind of help set up the Oriana with the ball delivery to the shockwave. Syndra is going to be the answer, so I think that I like that for Glaive. They're going to have some pretty good lanes. And even with Udyr, it makes it a lot harder for Virtue to win out in the jungle matchup either early on. But Virtue's scaling should be very good this game.
Yeah, I'm really not a fan of the Orianna R4 here. This immediately speaks to your drafting for essentially 3 losing lanes, which is going to be a tough position for Virtue to be in. Really, the only thing that they're kind of tying into here is going to be, like you touched on, a very good team fight, but they really need some kind of early game momentum to really propel them through without falling too far behind. It'll be a Wukong locked in, actually, for that last pick, so unless this Ornn ends up being a flex based on that Aatrox pick, this could be pretty spicy.
Yeah, I just looking at the draft in general, I think that it was played out supremely well by Glaive. I didn't see anything there that didn't make sense in my mind of absolutely what they want to be doing. They get the Thresh early, which means that Virtue can't pick the Aphelios. Then they're able to pick up the Aphelios themselves because Ezreal's not going to punish it. They get a jungler that's going to work well for them in the early game. And then they get counterpick top and mid. So that's going to feel really nice. But it's going to be Virtue having an opportunity to, based on execution, just keep themselves in the game for a long time. And they've got a lot of comeback mechanics. So if Glaive isn't able to snowball and end early on, then it's going to look pretty good for Virtue in the fights, especially adding the Wukong at the end. They've built a team comp for themselves that has a definite identity. So I think that they're in a decent position, but the early game could look a little bit rough.
Absolutely. Entire one thing that we definitely want to touch on here is just the overall objectives that are typically gone for by both these teams. Rift Herald, not massive priority for the side of Virtue, getting it in less than half of their games as that first Rift Herald. But over for the side of Glaive, not only are they very active in the early game, picking up these first bloods, but they have a very high priority on these Rift Heralds, often securing 2 per game. So definitely something that we're going to have to want to track, seeing if Virtue does end up pulling up to try and contest this trend that we have seen from Glaive, or if they're just going to try and concede, scale up, bide their time, and pick their moments.
Yeah, based on the order that they've locked things in, and keep in mind that things can always be swapped later. But the Wukong is in that top lane slot with a Wild Terry, and Ornn has been locked in by Zohair. So I'm not sure what Ornn's jungle clear is. I kind of am expecting that it's going to get swapped later, the Wukong for the Ornn. But Wukong definitely a top laner that can play maybe more effectively into Aatrox. So if Ornn has any ability to clear the jungle at all, maybe that's the call that they're going for, just trying to get a counter pick top and maybe get a winning lane there. That might help them out in the early game in a way that I had not foreseen.
And I think that it would be an interesting pivot, at least to try and bring some sort of semblance back to the top side of this map. it's going to be a relative like tank on tank matchup. There's not going to be a ton of overall dueling. Udir's going to want to get in Ornn's face as much as possible. But one thing that we definitely need to note here is that if this Ornn does end up staying in the jungle for Zohair, it does delay all the Ornn ornaments. Nobody is going to get these mythic upgrades until much, much later based on the delay and level curve in the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that you want to keep in mind when you're talking about the effectiveness of Ornn as a pick. You're kind of waiting to get to the late game already, having an Ornn. But if you're not getting those levels, then it's going to be an even longer timer that you have to stall the game out for before that actually starts having an impact on the outcome of the game state. But on the other hand, Ornn's still an effective pick in team fights once he hits level 6. You're going to have that Call of the Forge God available, and it looks like it will. Let's hold on just for a second longer. It looks like Ornn Jungle is being locked in, so a very spicy flex here coming from Virtua Gaming Unity, and we'll see if it pays off for them.
Absolutely. Now we're going to take a very brief break, but when we come back, we will have game 1 between Glaive Emerald and Virtua Gaming Unity. Stick around. Welcome back to Week 7 of Virtue Gaming series between Glaive Emerald and Virtue Gaming Unity. I'm Sovereign for your play-by-play, joined by Tiger58 on your color. Tiger, this is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about the effectiveness of Orange Jungle in between the Champ Select and loading in. And it seems that Zohair maybe has played a few games of it before. And potentially with a couple points into W early, the clear is not necessarily that bad. But that said, he's not going to be able to quite contest against an Udyr, and fighting that 1v1 can be a little bit rough.
Yeah, it's going to be probably his best bet is going to be to mirror this matchup, and I like how we're already looking at 5 points, at least initially through this level 1 stack. So both the junglers will start pathing into their into their bot side jungles with that final destination of top. Now, that obviously the Ornn clear will be a little bit slower than that Udyr, but we'll definitely see how this early game shakes up and how aggressive Folly Fox wants to be in this matchup.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to note is that Arch took the Conqueror on the Ezreal this game instead of First Strike, which I've seen a lot of. I think that it makes sense because they're going to be in a lot of combat situations where you're going to have like an Udyr or an Aatrox in your face and you just want to get a little bit of that extra healing. But that is something to keep in mind that's going to stunt the gold that Ezreal might otherwise see.
Yeah, very standard, at least to start off. Good mantra Q down by Itchy into iScott here. These top laners just going blow for blow, back and forth, really trying to set tempo into this lane and try and push any advantage that they can.
Yeah, it looks like it's also a relic buy from Itchy Rat, so it's going to be a little bit less powerful, but has a little bit more defensive stats.
We do have a fight into the top lane here. It's going to go blow for blow here. Wild Terry is going to try and force Shaden out on this Aatrox. Not enough to go for the kill here, but already a CS lead developing as a result of that pressure.
Yeah, and I think that this is the whole point of picking that Wukong on R5 and pivoting the Ornn to jungle, is that you want to get a winning top lane matchup. And if Wild Terry is able to win out on these trades, keep CS advantage, and get some help here potentially on a gank from Zohair, then it could look out as a really good flex in the late stages of the draft, game number 1.
Got a very interesting path by Zohair here. A 4 camp into immediate look topside. This is going to be a level 3 Ornn. He does have the knock up here. Level 4 on the Udyr will force him out of the jungle as both mid laners transition over towards the fight, trying to help Zohair get this crab. Bot trading back a little bit of damage here. But that's the power of a poke lane.
Yeah, and it's absolutely massive that Quality Player was able to get push in that mid lane. That helped Zohair's invade actually work out, because Wild Terry moving up there was going to be useful anyways. But if Panda is able to answer, then that becomes an invade that doesn't work out. I mean, you got higher level on Folly Fox. Looking for a gank bot, but not going to be able to engage onto the Ezreal Karma.
Yeah, will be spotted out by that vision. Zohair just farming up what he can here. Otherwise, it's a relatively quiet early game. A decent amount of trading back and forth in this top and bot lane. But nothing overly surprising.
Yeah, and there was a pretty decent early CS lead by a Wild Terry, but Shaden has matched that at this point, so it must have just been building up a wave, which was all good and well. But first Drake coming up here in about 30 seconds. Big trades in the top.
Shaden's gonna go in here. First blood picked up by Shaden onto Wild Terry.
Yeah, I got the flash Q3 to land on the sweet spot, and that means that the extra gold going over, and that's going to be pretty punishing, considering that we move the Ornn to jungle just so that you can get that matchup top lane, and it's not working out. But it is flash down for Shaden, so maybe it gets punished later on.
Yeah, Terry forced to TP back into this top lane. Executioner's calling his buy into the Iron Spike whip. in the mirror. So this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for Terry to really stabilize this lane. Aatrox really good in this matchup, at least keeping the monkey at bay as much as he can.
Yeah, at least the wave state looks like it's going to be pretty advantageous for Terry. Pushing towards him should be able to just stay around in the top side, just farm it up for a little while. And maybe the level 6 is the break point where Wukong starts to win that matchup. Having that Executioners is going to help out in trades as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on top lane. And it's pushing back against Wild Terry now, so it's going to need some help. And Zohair is on the way, so maybe it is able to get pushed in after all.
Absolutely, yeah, we do see a very quick move over by Itchy, trying to establish some vision, keep his mid laner safe here. Zohair pathing up into the top side. Wave is building.
Yeah, not going to be able to find anything here because Shaden already saw Zohair go through the Tri-Brush, and that means that first Drake is probably going to go over here to Glaive Emerald as we see Fox starting up the Infernal. Now we'll see if some damage coming down in the bot lane.
Look, does land will force the cleanse. Good trade back damage on will force the flash by Icecott. Dragon picked up by the side of Glaive. We got some trading into the mid lane too here. Both mid laners will walk away.
Yeah, I kind of like the matchup being Panda versus quality player. We got some forms of bears that are not bears, and just having a little bit of fun with the names. But both of them just farming it up pretty well now, just getting some trades off as well. I think Panda is going to have the advantage for a little bit here. The Syndra should be good into Orianna at level 9 especially is the break point where the Q gets the upgrade, and that's going to start dealing some big damage.
Big Cyclone down into the top lane. Wild Terry going to pick up his revenge in this matchup.
Not even forced to burn the flash, so that means Shaden might get punished again.
The Madrid will go down with that root, but it does not matter. Lantern to get Impulse back out to safety.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate because if they had a control ward to put on top of that Lantern, I think that they actually could have solo killed or at least forced the flash out of Impulse there. But no control wards available, so he's just able to flick the Lantern, get right on out. For those of you who might not be aware, the interaction is if you put a control ward on top of the Lantern, then if they try to click the Lantern, they'll be attacking the control ward instead. So that disallows any movement from the Lantern, which is something that we often see in competitive play. So once we get to a little bit higher levels, a little bit more gold income, I'll be expecting to see some control wards in the inventories from this bot lane.
For sure, and we're already seeing that look by Glaive over up onto this Rift Herald that we touched on in the pregame. Already down to about 2k here, no vision on this at all for Unity. Now we'll be going down just a little bit after spawn here, 8:45. That one's going to be picked up.
Yep, so the Rift Herald being picked up, and with as often as they've been able to pick it up, one would assume that Glaive Emerald has a plan in mind of what they want to do with the Rift Herald. They should be able to get some plates with it.
Oh, good trade down by Shaden here. Zohair is pathing up, is not seen through the Tri-Bush this time. May manage to sneak into this bush here. He does.
He's got the ulti too. We might be able to see a combo. Flash almost back up for Shaden. Should just be about 10 to 15 seconds.
Cyclone is up here. Call of the Forge God coming down. Will not. He whiffs it, but the Cyclone does pick up the kill onto Shaden. But Folly Fox trying to trade anything back here. Turtle stands in. He's looking for the kill. Phoenix nearly knocking down Terry, but he's going to keep going. Both members from the side of Unity are going to get pretty low here, and they will actually trade the kill back. Folly Fox goes down. Terry on a killing spree.
We might be not done yet. Okay.
Oh, Hook does land onto Arch here. Flay back, but a good Arcane Shift to keep himself safe. That is the Ignite going down. A good Inspire Shield, but Icecott will fall to the side of Arch. Aphelios going to try and pick up what he can here. A flash into the minion wave, but it does not matter. Arch with the double kill.
Yeah, Virtue Gaming Unity picking up a couple of fights just by narrow margins. The health bars are all under 200 by the end of each fight, but coming out 4 for 0 on that trade. First of all, I wanted to mention that despite whiffing the recast of Call of the Forge God, Zohair actually hit the first part of it, which did some damage, and also extended the knockup on the Cyclone from Terry because of the brittle that it added on top of Shaden. So that helped with the first kill. And then Fox walking forward wanted to get the re-engage, but was also at like 300, 400 HP. So it didn't really have any license to do so and ended up getting punished for walking too far forward. Good dash from Terry was able to secure that kill. And then in the bot lane, a nice hook from Scott at the beginning of the fight. But then the poke damage on the back end, just a little bit too much from Arch and Itchy Rat, and they're able to pick up 2 more kills for themselves.
Yeah, good trade by Terry into the top side here. And one of the things we were critical of, at least of Virtue Unity, will actually force the flash with that hook there from Scott in the pregame was their draft. And most of their lanes being losing, at least through that mid matchup, through that bot lane matchup. Some good poke damage coming down. Not going to find anything here.
Yeah, they've neutralized their issues.
Oh, good Shockwave will find Impulse and pick them up. Itchy Rat going to get credit for that one, but they're not done yet. Thrush going to fall too. Arch does pick up that one. That will force the flash with Call of the Forge God. Panda trying to run away as fast as he can.
Yeah, so another kill secured there for the side of Virtue Gaming Unity. And like you said, we were a bit critical of the draft, but that was without the knowledge that it was the orange jungle, to be fair. And the winning the top lane has been a helpful avenue, but I also had not foreseen any interaction going on in the bot lane. Arch and Itchy Rat playing a little bit more aggressively than I had originally figured, and that's actually helped them put up 3-0-1 for Arch's Ezreal. They've got a gold lead of about between the two of them, they've got like 2,200 gold advantage. So they're just doing a lot of good work so far in the early game, and that's leading to an overall advantage about 3,000 in favor of Virtue Gaming Unity.
Absolutely, and that just speaks to understanding that this is how they're going to have to try and play out this game, utilizing the poke as best as they can to try and nullify the Aphelios Thresh. Quality just trying to essentially stay even as best he can in this lane. Gold is about even just through how this lane is played out despite those 2 assists. And really playing to that top side, trying to facilitate this matchup that Unity opted into so heavily, trying to pivot this Ornn out just to get a winning lane. I give full credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I think that the Orianna pick is just in a vacuum a good pick for competitive. A lot of additional power in the team fights with the Shockwave, and we saw in that last team fight around the Dragon that it was utilized effectively to help not only pick up a kill, but scatter the rest of the members from Glaive Emerald, so they weren't able to continue the fight after that, and it was just a free Drake, 2 for 0, and another advantage gained here in the early stages of this game by Virtue Gaming Unity.
Absolutely. And if we just take quick stock of kind of what we're looking at, remainder-wise, at least as far as objectives go, we're sitting about 2.5 on this next Rift Herald. Not a lot of plate action in this game, quite honestly. 2 off the top. We got 1 off the bot side. Pause has ended here, which means we're right back to the action.
All right, one thing that I want to mention right quick before we get any more fights is that the Herald hasn't been used yet by Fox, and they have about 20 or so seconds left to put it down, so we'll be looking to see that used for some plates here, hopefully by Glaive Emerald, if they want to get any value out of the resources that they put into getting that early Rift Herald.
absolutely. And I did have a brief spectator bug, so I might be behind now, unfortunately.
I'm at 12:30 right now.
Okay, we're on the same, which is pretty good. Nice. Okay, all good. All right, so another trade back into the top side here, really trying to exploit this gold advantage now. 1,000 up to the side of Terry, but this is going to be the Ghost and a Rift Herald spawn. World Ender will be popped, will find the knock up here, but they're not going to be able to chase Terry under the tower here. They will try and usher in this Rift Herald as the Cyclone comes back down for a little bit of a trade. But we do have Quality roaming up here. This will be into the ball. The Rift Herald gets their charge off and some good damage. Oh, the sweet spot will barely leave Quality breathless here as he limps away with his life. But it will force the side of Unity to back off as best they can.
Yeah, they even rotated Itchy Rat up to try to help against a potential dive.
Oh, good smite here to cancel the recall, but it will cost him his life. Terry on the rampage here as Shaden tries to trade anything back. The clone to try and keep himself alive. Terry will back away, but Itchy may just not want to walk away yet. Terry holding on for dear life here as Shaden goes on the aggressive here.
Yeah, and another overextension from Fox. Now, maybe they didn't know Itchy Rat was in the area. Oh, Archer living dangerously under the tower here. It looks like a lot of plates going down in the bot lane is going to be advantageous for Impulse on the Aphelios, trying to recoup some of the gold that's been lost in the early stages of the game by giving up a couple of these kills over to Arch. But plates down now means that we will be looking at...
oh, great pick here from the side of Virtue. That will be Panda dropping super quickly. Fox trying to go back into the jungle. Not the safest way possible, but a great matcher Q gonna knock Impulse off a good chunk of his HP.
Yeah, and Virtue Gaming Unity have done a great job of tracking Fox this game. Everywhere he tries to make a play, either a play is being made on the opposite side of the map, or else they are countering the play and taking the win in the matchup. So whatever the case, Fox going to be looking towards this second Rift Herald now, but already first brick gonna go over to Virtue Gaming Unity in the bot lane.
A very good pickup here as they try and rotate back around. That's going to be a TP coming through by Zohair actually to get back into this top side of the map. But one of the nice things about Spellbook junglers that you don't see very often, but as he does posture around this, Rift Herald has spawned, and it looks like Unity will try and put as many members up here as they can, as their bot has already rotated, whereas Glaive has left Impulse in the bot lane. But the trade here top, that could be Terry falling, but he will save his life with a quick flash. As Shaden goes on the aggressive here, Rift Herald now started up. We do have Fox going in for the bear slap as both teams look to fight over this Herald. This is a 5v4 for the side of Virtue Unity.
Yeah, with the teleport coming back in from Terry, that's true.
All of the Forge God goes down. It does go wide, but this will be Terry looking for Fox here. Fox going to go down to Arch through that Mystic Strike. Fox does come down trying to keep Glaive alive. Panda picking up Itchy Rat on the backside of this fight. That's going to be the ball, trying to keep him safe. A flash forward from Quality will find the Shockwave, but it doesn't do enough. Only finding Shaden here as Glaive is forced to back away, and Virtue turns back onto this Herald.
Yeah, a little bit fortunate there for Virtue that it didn't go worse than it did. They ended up in a 1-for-1 trade. They're giving up the bot lane tower, but picking up the Rift Herald. So it's about even all around, but I thought if Panda had held the Force of Will, then it could have resulted in another kill, potentially onto Zohair. I think that it didn't do any damage before Itchy Rat died, so I think a little bit of a mechanical misplay there, or a micro misplay in any terms. But now Panda is going to be dropped pretty low before the Drake fight.
Flash just to the side will avoid the Mystic Shot from Arch. Some very heavy damage starting to come in as this Man Immune finishes stacking up the Essence Reaver already complete onto this Ezreal, and he's only getting stronger.
Yeah, Virtue Gaming Unity playing out the first stages of this game very well. Rift Herald available as the first Cloud Drake of the game spawns. Cloud Soul, 3 Drakes away for each team right now. But that could start to close quickly as we see the Cloud Drake being picked up here by Virtue Gaming Unity. Fox not in the area, so I'm gonna guess that there's no contest over this Drake. It should have the vision choked out and be able to secure it off the map.
Glaive not wanting to contest this one, and I don't blame them. At this point, it's not the easiest thing to contest into a teamfight comp that is already starting to scale up massively. They had brought Terry down, who has a good chunk of their gold. Arch is really big, and for the side of Glaive, they just don't really have the items necessary to deal with them at this point. Fox will go in for the bear slap, and a little bit of trade damage back from Terry. The clone forced away. But is being forced out of this top lane a little bit by Folly as he goes a little bit deeper, looking for him, trying to delay him from touching this wave as they look to set up a freeze.
Yeah, that could be a little bit punishing. There's already a pretty big lead for Terry, so it's not going to put him out of the game by any means. But it could help Shaden start to get into a position where he could potentially carry the team. We'll see if that's going to hold any longer, though. Terry just going to get right back into the lane.
Is hitting some sweet spots here. World Ender will be popped as Folly tries to come in. Call the Forge God went through in the mid lane. That's going to be Arch unstoppable as he drops Ice God. The tower falling as well. Terry will pick up Shaden, but is traded back by Folly. That's the second charge going down and a second mid-tier tower going down as Virtue Unity will back away. But all in all, not an awful trade, but not a great trade by Unity.
Well, we have to keep in mind that they got actually 2 for 1 there. The 1 for 1 in the top lane just absorbed the extra pressure of Fox. Well, they had a 4-man group mid, which meant that they got 2 towers mid, in addition to getting the kill onto Scott. So I think that very much worthwhile to take that 1 for 1 trade if it allows the rest of the map to look how it looked in that particular instance.
Right. No, absolutely. It's going to be interesting as we start to pull up a little bit more into this top side for Glaive as Baron starts to become the point of contention. Already sending Panda bot with the TP available. Quality going to be the one to match as that wave does push back in to the side of Virtue. But Vision already established by Virtue as well, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for Glaive to walk into this very safely.
Yeah, I don't think that the Baron gets started very early here. Virtue Gaming Unity have a very strong teamfight comp, but they don't have a lot of sustained DPS, so taking an objective like Baron is not a task that they can just do very quickly. They're going to need some extended setup ahead of time, and then if they decide to do it while the rest of Glaive Emerald is alive, then they're going to have to be ready to turn because they probably won't be able to burn it down fast enough to avoid coming up against a 50-50 smite challenge between the junglers, which is not exactly what you want when you've got a 3,000 gold lead and are ahead on basically every metric on the map.
Absolutely. Yeah, and more damage from Terry. This man just will not give him a break, but that's the one downside about being a top laner. You're always in each other's face. Sweet spot lands and a tower shot will actually go into Terry as well as the mantra Q goes and barely tickles Scott on that time, but nothing too crazy. Both teams will back away and go right back to where we started.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a break in the action here, so I'll take a moment to mention that I like the decision from Arch this game to take the cleanse. Didn't need the heal so badly in lane, especially with support from the Karma. And the cleanse is definitely going to get him out of a jam at some point later this game, unless they just play it out perfectly and don't even need it. But at that point, it doesn't matter what summon or spell you take, so you might as well have the cleanse insurance there to keep yourself safe, no matter who might come up and stun you.
Absolutely, yeah. And we do have this dynamic duo of Shaden and Follyfox really trying to stick around this top side. As Folly does invade onto the red side, not going to really find anything, but it looks like they're going to ping down for this top tower. That will likely mean the Dragon trade going over to Virtue in the next 20 seconds on that spawn.
Yeah, and it looks like Terry's just going to be taking some Krugs as the consolation prize here. Not going to be able to fight the 1v2 at the moment. So, as you say, the Drake coming up here in 5 seconds should be winnable for Virtue Gaming Unity, and they may be looking for a route as well.
Yeah, as we do see the flank here, this could be a massive shockwave, which will catch out Impulse. Quality going to pick up that one. Great damage coming through there, but the great scatter of the week into the Syndra are to try and chunk them low. World Ender is popped, but they are going to town. Glaive picking up Arch on that side. Call of the Forge God will look, trying to knock them up. It will find 2, but a good knockback onto Terry will try and keep them safe for now. The box going down. There's no more damage to really come through here for the side of Virtue, as Folly drops down to 50 HP just about. As Virtue does start to back away here, they will take this Dragon, and a great team fight overall.
Yeah, well, a 1-for-1, both ADCs falling in that battle. The damage not quite enough there to finish off any more kills, but it was enough to push back the team for Glaive Emerald, which means that the third Drake has been taken by Virtue Gaming Unity. One more, and they will be the possessors of the Cloud Soul. I would like to say that on the back end of that fight, Zohair hitting that Call of the Forge God onto multiple members really helped set them up to be able to go take that Drake. Now we're seeing some vision control being gained by Glaive Emerald, so playing it out as best as you can from that position they're in.
Out of a week onto 2, Clone will be forced, but that's going to be Karma. Dropped very, very low. The Aphelios will not connect, and Moonlight Vigil not enough to try and take that out as the True Shot Barrage comes across. They're going to 5-stack onto the Cone, but it will leave their 8 carry behind. Fortunately, Lantern is a thing.
Yeah, well, they won't have that Lantern for the fight coming up, so Karma not back out on the map yet, but they should be able to dissuade any Baron take. Virtue Gaming Unity back out onto the map, got some health bars, got a lot of damage to work with, and so it's just a trade of getting some vision deep and then sweeping it away, I guess.
Yeah, neither team really wanting to commit to the full fight here. As Folly does try and chase Terry in the top side, they are seen on the pink ward and the scry from the Scuttle Crab. They do have decent position here, but with Terry forced to back, no TP available, they will just back away.
Yeah, so I think that getting this vision control, it's hard to start up Baron when the other team has the Scuttle Crab and everyone's alive. But once that Scuttle Crab goes down, I'm expecting the vision to be pushed out even further by Virtue Gaming Unity, and then they might have the setup to look at starting up a Baron. They might get the split push in the side lane coming out from Terry, and we'll see if they want to take a 4v4.
Virtue already trying to siphon off this chokehold as they look towards reestablishing vision around this Baron. This top tower still not quite that low. But definitely something that they can take to really start to push in this vision line as Glaive does start to walk up. Sweepers in their possession, looking to clear out as much vision as possible. The Shockwave does get whiffed by Quality. That's a key cooldown for the next few seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to have a team fight at all without the Shockwave available. But
all the Forge got into the Shirelias. That's going to be an up, and away. Arch picking up Panda on that one. Top tower sure to fall as well. Mid tower traded by the side of Glaive. They are looking for this fight. Terry not going to dive in all the way. Shaden's presence enough of a deterrent without that Shockwave available. As both teams start to eye back towards Baron here. Glaive on the inside track. Virtue will look to try and back away through the recall off this top lane. One recall will go through. Arch is not here. It's just Itchy Rat and Zohair as the team looks to collapse. They do have Moonlight Vigil here with the Gravitum. That's going to be a Gale Force forward looking to lock up Itchy Rat as Zohair is likely to fall here. Folly Fox picking up that one. Impulse will slay Itchy Rat. That's a 2-man advantage as we look over towards this Baron.
Yeah, and just respawning is Panda, so it'll be 5v3 on the map. And an unfortunate situation there, because if Arch has a little bit faster hands, maybe he's unless we're gonna have more fighting, maybe he's able to save the rest of the team. But now they're gonna look for quality player.
Will look to be chased down. Scatter of the week after the bear stance. That is going to be Unleash Power picking up that one. A shutdown onto quality.
Yeah, so I think that good picks coming through here. The gold stayed relatively even all the way through, but it's less than 1,000 gold lead now for Virtue Gaming Unity. So definitely seeing Glaive Emerald stick around in this match. We'll see if they're able to capitalize on that. Level 13 for Zohair means that he's got his upgraded Frostfire Gauntlet. Rhyme Forged Grasp. I can take a look at the names here, and I don't know what they all are, but I can pull them up on the screen so we can enjoy learning what some ornaments are called every now and again. But he will be able to upgrade some more items coming up shortly for the rest of his team.
EP used by quality to get back into the mid lane here as the True Shot Barrage comes through, chunking out Panda for about a quarter of that HP. Glaive will look towards the Dragon here to deny this Cloud Soul, but Virtue turns their attention immediately onto the Baron. They're 5-man stacked for this. They will try and leave Udyr back on the Dragon as the Dragon is slain. But Glaive does have to rush into the 6k left on this Baron. They are looking for something, anything. Scatter the Weak and to try and steal it, but it will not come through. Zohair with a smite secure. World Ender is popped, looking for a sweet spot knockup, but won't find it. Called
I think they can turn this fight.
Looking to turn it around, will find only the Aatrox in the back. Nobody willing to commit any further. That will be Virtue picking up the Baron and backing off.
Yeah, I think that it's a positive play, but I also think that if they had just stayed in the pit, they had a very healthy take of the Baron, and with the health bars almost full, I would have expected that the team fight would have been winning. Not willing to risk it here, so I definitely respect that. When you've got the Baron buff, you want to set up your waves. But I would have liked to also see an attempt at an engage, have the Cyclone available, have the Shockwave available. Could have gotten a ton of damage down and picked up a couple of kills on the back end there. But still, they are able to come out with the Baron buff, so we'll see what they can do with the purple on their screen.
Yeah, the blessing of the purple worm will hopefully allow them to try and look to close out this game as the Shockwave is whiffed again. But that's a-okay. Sometimes we'd just like to see the circle. Oh,
yeah,
Orion,
I mean,
save the bees, Oriana's skin, you know, it's all about putting down some honey.
Yeah, all about putting down some honey. And despite the fact that we've seen a good number of misses on the Shockwave, there have been a couple of very good hits that have led to a team fight win or getting a pick. So having that available means that we will be keeping an eye out for it as soon as it's back off of the cooldown. And even if you miss it sometimes, it's not a big deal. The cooldown's not huge.
Three-shot barrage should take out a massive chunk of Panda's HP here as the Call of the Forge God comes down. We'll actually find the knockup in the back, but they're looking for any kind of damage, any kind of CC to come back through. Oh my god, the Shockwave nearly clips Impulse to take him down, but that will be the base now cracked from Glaive as Virtue looks to push on with this Baron buff. Both top laners fighting into the bot side as the Nimbus Strike does come back through. Crushing Blow as a sweet spot lands by the Aatrox, trying to trade back some damage here. As I look to pull Icecott does have the flank here. Another sweet spot lands for the knockup. The hook goes wide on that, but it does not matter. They are looking to push this advantage as hard as they can.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the itemization now, and I'm seeing the Shadow Flame coming out as the second item from Panda. I very much like that pick into Karma and Oriana. There's going to be a lot of shields on the map for Virtue Gaming Unity all of the time. So Panda's going to become more and more of a threat as the game continues. Also, Merc Tread's picked up interestingly here. So just trying to get a little bit of extra survivability out of some of this early poke and get that extra tenacity as well. Terry on the warpath here.
Yeah, he's looking as he presses forward with the Cyclone, will be rooted up by that Gravitum, so it's not going to do a whole heck of a lot. We'll just burn the cooldown and try and farm the wave, but a great route by Impulse to keep himself safe.
Yeah, and Scott hitting a good flay as well to back him up, not allow the Cyclone to connect. I think that's the second or third time this game that we've seen something like that. So doing a pretty good job of denying the engage. Hasn't been enough to get them any huge team fight wins, but has probably helped stop some of the potential team fight sweeps from coming out from VGU.
Yeah, the Sanitrix Claw finished by the Ezreal as well, based from that ornament, which is going to give a lot of additional stats, all ability, haste, lethality, and some extra AD into this item, which, you know, Ezreal itemization has to be one of the most interesting things that changes from patch to patch. It was True Shot Barrage just chunks the side of Glaive yet again.
Yeah, and Drake's coming up here in 20 seconds. They need to get their health bars back up so that they can be in position for a fight. Glaive Emerald going to be at risk of giving up the soul now.
Oh, the Shockwave lands, but it won't find anything else. Folly Fox, as he tries to push up into this jungle, clear out any of this vision. Shaden will look in. That is a ghost popped from Folly Fox to try and run away on the top side of the fight, but on the bottom side of the fight, Shaden is holding off too. Folly looking to go back in. Terry engaging onto him, trading back his health bar down to about a third here. As if Philio's Q goes wide, Panda's going to have to deal with these supers in the top lane, and that looks like it will be the Cloud Soul going over to the side of Virtue.
Yeah, good macro plays coming out here from Virtue Gaming Unity. They're able to hold the line in the enemy side of the jungle and set themselves up with the priority over the Drake. And that's the power of having the super minions coming in through the top lane, is that someone's got to answer that at some point, or they will just start taking the Nexus towers. So with that in mind, they're able to hold off in front of the Drake and then turn around and just take it. So that means Cloud Soul. That does mean that we are just about 5.5 minutes away from the first Elder Drake of the game, if the game does manage to last that long. But we are squarely in the period of the game that I had pointed out would be the good time for Virtue Gaming Unity. They have gotten their scaling. They've gotten level 17 on the solo laners. Arch has 4 items here on the Ezreal, and they are in prime position to win the rest of the team fights this game.
So here, gonna finish that mythic ornament item here for the Eye of Luden onto Quality as the hook lands, but nothing to come of it. They're gonna try and flank from the top side of the map here as they look from the blue buff entrance. The ramp going to look to try and be their opportunity into this fight, as they cannot get around the top lane horn. Blue buff going to be stolen away by Quality. Baron has been started up by Virtue Gaming, down to 9k already, as both teams meet in the river here. That will be a sweet spot. Scatter of the week going to find its mark. True Shot Barrage going down onto Panda, will chunk him out for half, but here comes Call of the Forge God. That's going to knock up 2. That's going to be Impulse dropping immediately by Quality. The flash forced out, but another great Scatter of the week. We'll find 3. Cyclone going to pick up and knock up 2 here. Quality picking up the shutdown onto Folly Fox, but everybody is dropping. That's going to be a clean ace by Virtue Gaming onto Glaive as they look for the end here. TP's coming down already as they look to end out this game.
That's GG for game number 1, and a great team fight played out there. Just the poke coming down at the beginning of the fight basically eliminated Scott from being able to participate. A good shockwave there, It's just been the damage ahead of the fights that's made it so difficult for Glaive Emerald to navigate any sort of team fight coming out this game. Virtue Gaming Unity going to pull ahead 1-0 after a pretty clean finish to game number 1.
Absolutely. And you know what? I will apologize to Virtue for doubting your draft. I 100% thought your draft was scuffed. But you proved me wrong. You played it very well. I give you full props. That was very well played, game 1.
Yeah, and going into game 2, I think that Glaive Emerald is going to have to look at what they need to do to give themselves an opportunity to win. I mean, it seemed like they should have had some winning lanes, but they just ended up not winning any of the lanes that we thought were going to win. So in light of that, they're going to have to flex their draft a little bit. I once again think that the Jinx ban was a big impact here. That was a boon to the play style coming out from Virtue Gaming Unity in this match. And they were able to utilize the Ezreal in the matchup against the Aphelios to great effect. 8-1-5 for Arch, and we'll see if they can continue their success into game number 2.
Absolutely. And on that note, when we come back, we'll have game number 2's draft between Virtue Gaming Unity and Glaive Emerald. Stick around. Welcome back for game 2 of our match tonight between Virtue Unity and Glaive Emerald. We're already into picks and bans. To start off, if you missed the last game, Virtue Unity with a absolutely great played game 1 over the first seed in Glaive Emerald tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, this has implications for both teams. We talked a little bit earlier about it, but the standings right now, there's 2 teams at 5-1, and that's Glaive Emerald and Washed Players United. So if Glaive ends up losing here, they may be looking at dropping down to 2 or even a 3 seed, as Team Ambition Exodia could match them at a record of 5-2. Virtue Gaming Unity with a 2-0 would put themselves at 4-3 with a position to move up as high as 4th on the list of seeds. So they'll be looking to do so here, trying to get a better spot and get the first selection of side on the first match of playoffs. And I think that looking here, uh, it might be the case that they have all 8. Oh wait, never mind. I saw 8 teams and I was like, do they have top 6? What's the deal? But it looks like it might actually only be the top 4 that make playoffs. So if that's the case, then Virtue Gaming Unity absolutely need to win tonight, and they might need some help from SDC Death Cards taking a loss as well if they want to advance.
We got run down through the pick and ban here. Virtue Unity banning off the Shen, the Trundle, and the Jinx, with Glaive Emerald dropping Viego, Hecarim, and Zeri, mirroring that first phase of bans. Obviously, the Zeri changing hands into this game. The Karma, the first pick for the side of Virtue Unity. Glaive answering back with a Nautilus and what will likely be priority 80 carry. I personally would like to see the Aphelios again. I thought Impulse played it relatively well, but they're not willing to give over the Ezreal, and will lock that one in.
Yeah, so I think that Aphelios is a pick that you only really want to pick up with Thresh, most likely, unless you know the matchup that you're going into. I don't think Aphelios is very blindable. But that being said, Nautilus Ezreal means that the Nautilus should have a lot of priority to roam. So I will be looking for a lot of roams coming out for Glaive Emerald and Scott, while Impulse should be just trying to soak up some pressure. The hyper carry into Ezreal is the pick I like to see, and Xayah definitely fits that mold. Karma definitely helps as well when you pick a hyper carry, because you get that speed buff, you can get more kiting ability, you're able to put down the feathers on Xayah and get those geometric setups to get some good blade callers. So we'll be looking to see if that has an impact on the late game team fights, as the Volibear locked in as well.
Yeah, very, very interesting to be done so far, at least by the side of Virtue. The very first picks of the split for that Xayah and the Volibear, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the very first time both these champions have been locked in for this team. So definitely getting ready to show some other things, at least as we dive closer towards playoffs here. Ahri locked in now on that R3 for the side of Glaive, with Orianna, the first ban of second phase.
Yeah, so moving up the Ahri priority here, Glaive Emerald, wanting to make sure that doesn't get banned out in the second phase again. I think Ahri definitely one of the strong mid game picks in the mid lane. So a lot of roam potential for Ahri as well. So Nautilus and Ahri could just join forces and become a tandem roam duo. We could see that coming out, and that allows for a lot of priority towards maybe even a split pusher top, potentially for Glaive Emerald. So the Jax ban makes a lot of sense here, but we might be seeing something like a Fiora potentially, or a Yorick, depending on the champion pool, or Glaive Emerald's top laner, Shaden.
Yeah, Polypocket's not somebody who's shown a lot of picks, at least so far this split. 6 unique picks so far. Trundle and Hecarim obviously is most too comfortable, that he's pulled out time and time again so far. Both of them being dropped off in the first phase here. It'll be interesting to see what Glaive decides to lock in, assuming this will be the jungle pick, or at least what I would like to see as the jungle pick, having seen the Volibear already. Potentially the Nocturne, not too bad of a matchup, will allow for a little bit better pick potential through this Ahri and this Nautilus. But Lilia, also a decent matchup into this Volibear, which has been played once or twice already by Folly Fox. would provide some good. Oh, and it will actually be the Nocturne. Okay, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, Nocturne, a very strong pick in competitive play. I think that having that paranoia, just turning off the lights itself is powerful enough, but he's also able to get a semi global dash out of it. That definitely helps with the roaming as well. So now you got a 3-man squad that can be running around to different places on the map throughout the mid game in Nautilus, Ari, Nocturne. So the side lanes are definitely going to have to beware of potential ganks coming through. The Zillion definitely going to provide Virtue with a little more agency of being able to put down that ultimate on someone, and then they can continue to go forward. The speed up is going to just layer on top of the karma speed up. And that means we can get a pick that might flex between jungle and top here. Once again, Volibear could be used as a top laner. So we'll see what type of pick that Virtue wants to go with here.
Gangplank going to be the lock-in, and I do actually like this by Virtue here. They did have to draft for a carry top laner. I think Gangplank is probably the most blindable in this situation. Again, we'll see two picks that haven't been pulled out yet so far this split by Virtue, so nothing too crazy here. Now, Glaive going to need to round out their draft with something to deal with this Gangplank. Could potentially be the Aurelia that has been spammed by Shaden recently, and will actually be locked in, so this is going to round out Glaive's draft relatively well. They will have it something that can match this Gangplank in the side lane, but the 4v4 is what I really want to pay attention to this game here, Tiger.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit disappointed that we didn't see a Malphite. That wouldn't have quite gone with the split push style I was talking about earlier, but I think that Virtue would have had a really tough time dealing with a Malphite in team fights, and that would almost make it so that Glaive Emerald's comp becomes a team fight comp despite having the Nocturne, despite having Ari as not necessarily your traditional team fight picks, even Ezreal, not necessarily something that you think of with big team fights. But having the Malphite in there in conjunction with the Nautilus would have been big. But that's something that's not happening this game. So let's take a look at the things that we have on the map. Aurelia going to have a lot of power in the side lane. Split push could get out of hand if Virtue doesn't put any resources into top lane early on. Got to make sure that they're going to have that matchup on lockdown. Gangplank definitely going to scale up pretty well. Going to be comfortable being in that sideline and being able to drop a cannon barrage wherever he pleases on the map. And then having the rest of the team be pretty good at disengage with Xayah, Karma, and Zillion. It's going to be difficult for Glaive to lock any group down. They'll have to be looking for picks here, but their comp is very well suited to do so.
Absolutely, and the one thing that we'll have to keep track of is how these Zillion ults are used. If Glaive is indeed going to play for this sort of pick and roll style fights, at least to set up for objectives, set up for these team fights, the use of the chrono shift is going to be a massive factor in whether or not only does it work, but how much they actually have to blow into killing somebody.
Yeah, it'll be important for them to find the right timing. Or you can pop someone's chrono shift if you have them in a position where when they respawn, you'll be able to kill them. But I think that it makes it a lot harder to utilize the power of picking someone off that you've got with Nocturne and Nautilus. If you have the Zillion in the area just backing up whatever it comes. But I think that it should be a situation where early game, we've seen a lot of limit testing almost between the players in the first match. So I would expect to see at least some degree of some fighting, just players trying to out execute each other and get some solo kills this game, if it's anything at all like last game. So we'll have to see who's able to pull ahead in that sort of fighting.
Absolutely. And on that note, Tiger, we're going to jump to a very quick break while we load into this game. But when we come back, it's game 2 between Virtue Unity and Glaive Emerald. Welcome back to week 7 of the Virtue Gaming League. We are here with Virtue Gaming Unity versus Glaive Emerald. Unity up 1-0 in this series tonight. I am Sovereign for your play-by-play, still joined by Tiger58. Tiger, what did you think of that game one?
I thought that it was extremely well played by Virtue Gaming Unity, and once they got their advantage, they were able to hold on to it. They played to their win condition very well. They had a very good team fight set up, and here in game number 2, it's going to be looking a little bit different. I did notice that we've got the Summon Airy on Arch's Zaya, which means that it's most likely going to be Lethality Zaya instead of the traditional crit build. So we will be seeing a lot more early game focus with that lethality sort of style. We'll see if they're able to get early advantages here over this Ezreal Nautilus as the enemy lane.
Already some burn coming in on to Shade in here by this Gangplank pick, and they will actually trade blow for blow here. Grasp and Parlay going to do a lot of damage. Shaden actually going to be forced to back here. Level 1 fighting with the Gangplank before the minion wave. Likely going to be forced to burn the TP Tiger, and that is not a good start.
Yeah, that's a really rough spot to be in for Shaden because a good brush setup from Terry allows him to get the Trial by Fire passive proc, and then on the back end he's able to hit a Parlay, which definitely increases the damage. But re-engaging from Shaden at lower health was not the call there and ended up forcing the recall out. I think they were pretty even if not for that Blade Surge re-engage. But that means that now no potion as it was expended already, and Shaden still forced to recall and teleport.
Absolutely, yeah. This top lane is already going to be a matchup that Aurelia is going to have a little bit of a tougher time into, at least in those first early levels. That Grasp of the Undying going to layer in a lot of added damage, Trial by Fire, and the Parlay poke. With no additional sustain, this is going to be a bit of a tougher time. Terry already stacking up this wave, and it's going to be mirrored by Virtue Gaming's bot side as well as they look to try and crash both waves in at the same time.
Yeah, and with these junglers, I wouldn't expect any early ganks from Fox, but Zohair being able to see that early teleport being expended by Shaden could definitely be looking towards that top side of the map to try to find some early ganking potential. Fox is in the area for now, so Shaden should be all right to try to pick up some of this CS, but that's something you got to keep in mind if you are the top laner for Glaive Emerald.
And going kind of blow for blow here again, similar to last game. Fox has actually pathed up top, but a flash into the mid lane will force a flash out of Panda by Zohair as they look to continue in here. Wild Terry is going to be forced and feared relatively low. Oranges have been burned, but he's going to be dropped to about 120 HP. A little bit more trading into the mid side here, but some good looks early from both of these junglers.
Yeah, but on the first reset, Terry is able to pick up Sheen and TP back to lane, so that's going to be an even bigger lane advantage than before, able to absorb that gank. But the gank came early enough that the teleport is still going to be able to be used as just like getting back to lane sort of identity of teleport for a couple more times by Terry, and that means that Shaden's going to be in a really rough spot here. This could also get frozen, so Shaden actually has to stay and try to get this wave in, but maybe Terry is able to get the freeze. I didn't check before the camera panned away if it was going to be good enough to freeze, but it looks like it might be, and if it does freeze, Shaden is frozen. In a world of hurt.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be frozen here. This is going to be a give Shaden a very tough time. Likely going to have to call up Fox to try and break this freeze as much as they can. This is going to give a very substantial gold lead over to the side of Terry. I
don't think that this is quite frozen anymore. It's going to slow push back, which is going to be a little bit better of a situation for Shaden. Still going to not be quite optimal, but at least going to be a little bit of solace.
Well, the roam up here from IScott will force the flash out of Quality. The Ignite expended as well in that, but nothing too crazy to come of it.
Good roam. IScott actually staying around here for a little while, wants to pick up this cannon minion, I suppose, but nothing too much coming out, just the flash going to be burned.
The wave getting stacked here as Fox will throw out the Duskbringer, not going to connect onto Terry as this wave continues to build. But they will look for an aggressive invade into this blue side jungle just to try and find where Zohair might be pathing. As he looks into towards the bot side of the map, Arcane Shift back under tower for Impulse to keep himself safe. Dragon now going to be started up by the side of Virtue Gaming.
Yeah, and importantly, the solo lanes are ticking over to level 6. Shaden's still a little bit behind here in the top side, but level 6s mean that we will be keeping an eye out for that cannon barrage coming out from Wild Terry. We will have to keep in mind the fact that Spirit Rush can get you into a side lane quickly if you're Panda, and Follow Fox should be getting close. Not quite level 6 just yet, but still looking at a gank topside.
As Sparrows gets set up, and he is going to drop the Cannon Barrage to try and keep himself safe. The Fear will connect, but it's not going to matter. First Blood picked up by Shaden as a Wild Terry does burn the Flash for kind of no real gain here. A little bit of a trade down into the mid lane by Panda, but First Blood to Glaive Emerald.
Yeah, and after all of that setup in the top lane, looking so good for a Wild Terry, Shaden able to get that kill means that he's right back into the game and should be able to get a pretty good reset with that 400 extra gold. Back to down only 12 CS after such a rough time in the early stages. Definitely a good point from Shaden to just keep the mental throughout the early stages and come back and pick up that First Blood.
Yeah, we will actually see a very slight gold lead over to Shaden here in this matchup, despite that CS differential. He will be up only about, actually will go down a little bit after this wave is finished collected, but basically that kill is going to equalize that lane despite the parlay gold and despite the CS lead that has been accrued by Terry.
Yeah, I will say that based on the items that have been bought, it's still going to be a good matchup for Terry because he's got the Bramble Vest now into the Vampiric Scepter. I had a tough time with that particular item's name for a moment there. Couldn't tell you why, but that's going to mean that the Grievous Wounds come through if Shaden tries to take a trade, and that means Terry should still be coming out on top. The parlay on the back end of the trade is still going to mean that much, but Flashless here.
To the top side, that will be the Vanguard's Edge. Going to try and keep Terry forced into this fight. Panda going to take that one for his time and effort as they do try and shut down this Gangplank as much as they can, facilitate Shaden in this lane.
Yeah, and I think that just getting another kill in the top lane has made it such a more difficult lane to figure out for Wild Terry. I think Shaden is going to win 1v1s later on into the game, and that's just becoming earlier every time that a death goes down. But now we got to dive.
Yep, there's going to be a bot dive. TP going to come down as the depth charge will connect onto Itchy Ramp, but that's going to be the Nautilus falling. Arch going to pick up Ice Scott on that one. As Shaden does TP in, he is going to look to try and trade the kill onto Arch. It's going to be a burned Flash for nothing at all as the bot lane for Virtue does fall. Zohair going to pick up Impulse here in the red side jungle as Shaden now on a killing spree will pick up Zohair. Massive team fight win for the side of Glaive.
Yeah, and a little bit gained back there with the kill from Zohair, but still a 3-for-1 going to be putting Glaive in a good spot. I will say, though, that Terry is still in the top lane, so should be able to pick up maybe a plate. Hasn't actually gotten the wave into tower yet, but on the reset. We may be looking at a gank coming through top lane from Scott, though, so Terry's got to be wary of that possibility.
Absolutely, yeah, this is going to be a 3-man walk up here. Cannon Barrage is available to try and keep himself safe if he wants, but it's going to be the Fear. He's not even going to bother with the oranges. Who needs them? He's going to fall anyway. Folly Fox picking up that kill. Arcane Shift to keep Impulse alive as the Mantra Q will connect for a little bit of a chip damage here, but this CS lead is growing massively for the side of Virtue in this bot lane.
Yeah, so that's Virtue's good spot on the map, and right now that's the reason that they're still within 600 gold in this game. But Shaden is starting to get out of hand. Already has the Bork, already is matching in CS almost, and taking 3 plates already. Going to be having the same amount of effect in the top side as Virtue Gaming Unity's bot lane is currently having. We'll see who's able to take down the tower first.
Absolutely, yeah, it's likely going to be a very interesting race. Both sides want to try and pick this up, but Folly Fox is going to ult into the top side here. Terry, their target again. Cannon Barrage going to come down, but the Fear connects, and Shaden going to be on a rampage, picking up Terry for the 4th time this game.
This is just bullying at this point. It's a chain ganked top lane. The Rift Herald is in the inventory, so they might look for a tier 2 on the back end of this. Actually not even able to finish off the tier 1 because the wave wasn't there. But first turret actually going to go over to Virtue Gaming Unity, so they will be keeping the gold close in that aspect. They should be picking up the second Drake of the game here. There is still Fox on Vision top side. So just going to be looking to reset and get some more plates potentially out of this Rift Herald instead.
Yeah, absolutely. And this does put them into a very interesting spot and will be the Mountain Soul for this game. 5 minutes on that one here before we have the next major point of contention. It will actually be a split spawn here, Tiger, between Rift Herald and Dragon. So it'll be interesting setup for this these next 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll see which direction that each of the team wants to take. I would like to see some support topside for Terry. He just keeps getting ganked over and over. You might have a deep freeze set up, which would allow him to at least get some good farm. But now the rotation of the lanes has Arch in the mid lane. There will be 3 plates already in the mid lane after this Rift Herald charge. And that looks like that'll just be it for now.
Yeah, some very valuable gold trying to be taken up by Glaive Emerald. Push this lead where they can. The Stride Breaker now has been completed for Fox with those Ionian boots, looking to get in as often as he can and slow whoever that target is, lock them down for that fear, and try and turn this pick style into a bigger advantage.
Yeah, and Stride Breaker definitely the #1 item to go on a Nocturne, unless you're going absolute full assassin build. But you can just get on top of someone with the ulti and then drop Stride Breaker on top of that, and you're guaranteed to hit it pretty much as long as you get the timing right. So it makes a lot of sense. And we see the Everfrost from Panda. That's going to be something to keep an eye on in team fights. Going to be looking to get the right angle to get the root on as many people as possible. Now quality player looking for some stuns.
Everfrost into the double bomb. Good chip damage here. Will actually drop him to about a third as Fox is going to come in. Chrono Shift is going to keep him alive for now and will be forced to flash away back under his tower. He's got reinforcements coming, but it might be too little too late. As the side of Glaive will start to back up, their health bar is starting to disappear on him through all these bombs. These airy procs.
Yeah.
It will be the chain arm does land into the Everfrost. That will be the flash ult over the wall. Panda gonna fall to Zohair. Fox forced to limp away. The tower's already been gone. This will be looked to be a siege onto the tier 2.
Yeah.
By Unity.
So I think that this is going to help the gold come back, and Fox could be in trouble again.
Zohair really wants this, man. He wants to make him pay for that Udyr in his face last game. How annoying the man Bear Pig can be. Mid tower will fall. Some standing gold picked back up by Virtue here, kind of on the back foot of this game. Not too far behind in terms of gold here. Only about a 500 gold lead there, Tiger, but not much separating these teams besides that kill count.
Yeah, both of these games that we've seen so far, whichever team has had someone getting picked on over and over again has done well enough in just collecting resources naturally to keep the gold lead pretty close to even. So usually it's just the kills and not too much more going over one side or the other on the back end of it. Or at the very least, it's being traded opposite sides of the map. So as we can see, the top lane turret is down for Virtue Gaming Unity, but mid and bot down for Glaive Emerald means that pretty much even state as far as the turrets go. Having that mid lane tower down actually should help the Virtue Gaming Unity get more vision deeper into the map. But they will have to find a way to get priority back in the mid lane in order to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. And this point of contention is going to start to come up as we're less than a minute away from the Herald and Dragon spawns. Vision starting to be set up bot side by both teams. Herald's going to be on the back burner, it looks like, for this one, as both teams want to play for this Earth Dragon. Raise some of those defenses where they can.
Yeah, this has been one of the good things out of the early game. Ooh, flash follow.
Oh, Vanguard's Edge will connect. Chrono Shift will try and keep himself safe as the double bomb comes through. Tower Shot not going to drop him any further, but the sustain is just gross through this Vampiric Scepter and Bork combo. This looks likely going to be a shield bow, actually, by Shaden, just to try and facilitate these dives even harder. TP now coming through by Shaden onto this dragon. They want to contest this. They want to pick this up.
There's no Chrono Shift.
So Hair's going to get rooted up by iScott. They're still on the dragon. That's going to be 2k, but they're falling relatively low. That will be secured by the side of Folly Fox, but everybody's going back in. Panda's going to pick up Wild Terry in this fight. The Xayah ult will try and keep himself safe with the flash pullback, looking for the root, but will fall anyway. It doesn't matter. Glaive trying to push back into their own jungle, pick up these stragglers. Itchy Rat likely to fall next. Maybe not. That's going to be the bomb into the Q. Impulse going to drop to Itchy, but they are stuck in a corner. There's no flashes here. Itchy's going to fall. That's an ace by Glaive Emerald.
Yeah, so 5 for 2. And as I said, the Chrono Shift not available at the beginning of that fight. But the big play that happened was Fox was able to hit a 5-man stride breaker. So disengaging the fight was just not an option that time around for Virtue Gaming Unity. They were caught a little bit in the middle. They weren't able to get in to contest the Drake in time before it got smited away. But then once they were stepping a little bit too close, they were not able to get back out either. So not a great look on that fight from Virtue Gaming Unity, and that's going to be a Drake and Rift Herald over to Glaive Emerald.
Yeah, they're going to start to push this advantage a little bit harder here. Tiger, 18.5 minutes. We're sitting on about a 2,500 gold lead after that dragon was picked up. But, you know, I will say Virtue is starting to show a little bit more signs of life. Looking for some of these more desperation plays. Arch there with that Xayah R into the flash pullback, looking for a root, try and keep himself safe, try and find that damage with this lethality Xayah that at the moment is really facilitating kind of their entire gold. Like, even just the Xayah itself is about 1,200 gold up on the next highest person on the side of Virtue Unity, so they do have to try and keep Arch alive as much as possible to find some semblance of damage in these team fights.
Yeah, and something that was very effective last game was Itchy Rat finding poke before fights.
Oh, this will be the engaged Zohair. Gonna get feared, but the bomb goes through. The ult comes down. That's gonna be a pickup by Arch. Shut down. Some much needed gold taken away from the head of Folly Fox into this lethality Xayah, which currently is going to have to carry the team. The stun onto the Nautilus will force the flash as the fear looks to come down. The tether broken. Ezreal going to layer some Mystic shots back into the side of Virtue Unity.
Yeah, a nice double bomb there to set up the pick from quality player. And looks like they're going to keep pushing on forward in this bot lane to try to take down the tier 2. Don't know if it'll be contested. I don't think it would be very wise for Impulse to stay around here very much longer. But it's going to be just taking the tier 2 and disengaging. Meanwhile, Panda pushing up the mid lane. We'll see if it's going to be enough. True Shot Barrage goes through. Not going to make too much of a difference. So Shaden going in.
Mystic Shot won't cancel the recall, but Shaden will with the Vanguard's Edge. Xayah gonna look for the throw out and pullback. That's Shaden falling, but he picks up Terry in the meantime. Zohair gonna take another stab at this. Will actually pick up Impulse on the side as well. Mid tower will fall, but it doesn't matter. That's 2 quick kills picked up by Virtue Unity. Make that potentially 3. That's going to be a darkness coming down. Paranoia going to scatter this fight as Panda picks up Zohair, keeps his support alive. Arch going to find Folly Fox, but that's the charm forward. That's the Spirit Rush. That's going to be the shutdown into this Xayah as well. More gold going over to the side of Virtue, and Virtue starting to come online.
Yeah, and Sovereign, they must have heard you talking. They finally protected Arch through that entire fight. Great work at the end from Quality Player to land a double bomb onto Arch, actually, setting up the stun onto Panda, able to finish off the kill, and just able to turn a pick that they found onto iScott into a good team fight, getting a 3-for-1.
Yeah, and I want to give a big shout out to Itchy right there. Lots of very important clutch timing shields, trying to keep his AD carry alive, keeping Quality into these fights, letting him put out these bombs, fish out some damage, speed up the AD carry as much as he can, keep Arch facilitating the damage in these fights. This dual support combination of the Zillion Karma really starting to come online to protect the side of Virtue's damage. Oh, big chunk will force the Everfrost out, but Zohair going to be limping away, a little under half health here as the Q comes across from Isaiah. Rift Herald was dropped into the mid lane here. Folly Fox going to try and usher it in, but they've got Virtue Unity in a choke as this dragon spawns, looking for any kind of walk back in, but they've lost position here. The charm comes through. That was their one pick opportunity with Nautilus playing behind the Ahri. Virtue trying to find the third dragon of the game here, gonna drop down to 2k. Everfrost burned again, missed. Jury Shot Barrage comes through, but it will be Terry actually picking that one up. Vanguard's Edge will find multiple members inside the Dragon Pit. Chrono Shift has been used on the Zillion. Arch on the Rampage as he finds Shade in here. Low health bars everywhere for Unity. They're trying to find Ichira. That's going to be a double kill for Panda. That's going to be Fire Fox picking up another one into the side, but the fight's not over yet. These health bars are drastic. Oh, great flash pullback to find Folly Fox on the back end of the fight. Triple kill in for him as he finds more gold into these fights. Rift Herald will claim the mid tower, but huge fight and a lot of damage coming through now by Virtue, keeping this game very close.
Yeah, and that's the third Drake that they just took as well. So the next one and subsequent Mountain Drakes will be a potential soul for the side of Virtue Gaming Unity. Now, they did give up that mid-inhib tower, so that could be pretty punishing if the inhib gets walked up and taken down. But now pushing towards the top side can look for vision on Baron. So we'll see if Virtue Gaming Unity is able to set that up. We can see Fola Fox on the bot side of the map, but if he shows on vision, then they could be susceptible to a Baron startup here. I think that with the double supports, they could be in good position to go for such a play. But a nice blue trinket ward going to be spotting out who is topside and who is not.
If you just want to make a quick call out into some itemization here by iScott, this Evan Shroud that was picked up as the mythic item for this Nautilus, I don't really agree with. Quite honestly, this should have been a locket angle. The reason it should have been a locket angle, Evan Shroud amplifies the damage on anybody that's immobilized. You're pretty much forced to either pull, root, and R multiple people in a fight on multiple targets, or your R has to hit multiple targets for it to even matter. Had this been a locket, it gives a little bit more flexibility for Folly Fox, for Shaden to get these dives in, try and burst down a couple different targets. But we'll come back to that thought in a second as Zohair will find Impulse here, will be forced to flash to try and keep himself safe. iScott as well, but it doesn't matter. Arch is godlike. He's going to pick up that one. Charm comes through. Zohair chasing a little bit further down to 1/3 HP. Baron live. They're going to turn their attention over to that, though. Virtue Gaming with a quick pick.
Yeah, and the itemization doesn't matter all that much if people keep getting caught out, but I think that they can play around the Even Shroud. Now they're going to look to contest the Baron.
Yeah, TP coming down. This is going to be Terry TPing from base. Quick flash to try and keep himself safe, but the paranoia goes down. Folly Fox going to pick him up on the side. Oranges don't really matter in this instance as the Spirit Rush comes through. Charm not going to connect onto anybody, but the Everfrost will. Bomb will not find its mark, nor will the Xayah Q, but there's going to be a flash stun by the Volibear right into the R that's shut down onto the Ahri. Arch picking up that one. Arch is going crazy in this fight. Zohair finds another one, the Dredge line, to try and keep iScott safe, but he's going to fall too. Impulse going to Arcane Shift forward. He's going to drop. That was gifted to him on a silver platter. Arch going to the moon and back to try and bring this game back from the brink of what it was early, putting the team on his back and outputting as much damage as he can in these fights. Folly Fox, the only one left alive.
Yeah, and it's about 15 seconds before anyone else can come back up. That's enough for an inhib to fall and the rotation back to Baron, I believe. And that's what I'm expecting to see here for Virtue Gaming Unity. They should be able to pick it up. The Baron take a little bit faster this game. Lethality Xayah isn't crit Xayah, but still should be doing a pretty decent flip of damage to Baron. But it looks like they're going to just back it out, play it a little bit safe. So interesting decision, but going to still get that inhib, so they'll get that pressure on the map. And Drake coming up in 30 seconds is the soul.
Harry's got to be careful. You can't push up that far, my man. I know you're wild, but it doesn't matter when you have no real intrinsic value in this game. They're going to try and gift it over to Shade in here, probably. Cannon Barrage is a wasted cooldown. What are you doing?
I don't know that that's a wasted cooldown. Volifox at 500 HP and Drake coming up in 10 seconds. He's going to have to find a way to get into the pit and potentially look for a steal. But Zohair is going to be at full health at the beginning of this fight. So Volifox is going to get some health back off of the Gromp, but the chunk that was done by the Cannon Barrage going to stick at least at the beginning of this fight. We'll see if they can be fought 5v4 though, and potentially
Paranoia will be coming up shortly again. That's going to be a Dredge line in. Vanguard's Edge does come down. Chrono Shift going to keep Zillion alive. Ichirad forced to limp away in the back of this fight. He's got no HP left to really stay in, but he's going to try and shield up the rest of his team where he can. Charm goes wide. Spirit Rush trying to keep Panda on the outskirts of this fight, weaving in and dealing damage, but it doesn't matter. Zohair going to have to ult in place, looking for some kind of damage to pick up Impulse. Impulse going to be forced over, Arcane Shift over the wall. Glaive Emerald limping away from this fight. Paranoia means it's not done yet. He's trying to find some angle in. Will go in onto Ichirad in the back. He's looking for the steal, but he smites early. That's going to be Zohair picking up the soul. That's a Prowler's Claw to get right over the wall. Great interaction there to kill off Impulse and get his first kill of the game. That's Terry finally putting one on the board. The fight's not over yet. Panda forced back into the base. Will Flash trying to keep his mid laner alive. Is going to be iScott here. The Xayah comes down. The pullback means Arch is legendary. They're diving the tower. Chrono Shift is back up. Ichirad going to pick up Panda, but the Aurelia is going to drop too. That's the double kill. That is the ace. That's going to be the 2-0 here for Virtue Gaming Unity.
Invest in Arch. 16-2-3 on the Xayah, absolutely carrying the game, and they're able to win a team fight and convert it straight into running it down to the mid lane, taking the Nexus. 2-0 victory for Virtue Gaming Unity, and they get to 4-3 at the end of the split for Aegis Defenders League.
Yeah, a very interesting game by both teams, really. Glaive, you had me in the first half, I'm not going to lie. But a really good use of the double support comp by the side of Unity, really putting all their eggs into this Arch basket. Zohair really putting in work to try and facilitate the start of these fights, getting these picks, getting these crucial stuns to start off, get some chunks down, get these slows, and get Arch into a position where he can deal the damage and take over.
Yeah, and for all of the resources that were put into top lane by Glaive Emerald, that just left time for Arch to take plates, take the CS advantage in the bot lane, get in a position to win the game. And really, both game 1 and game 2, it was Arch with the big lead coming up ahead. So we can check the gold graph here. It's going to be about 7,000 gold over Impulse here in the bot lane. Arch absolutely popping off this game. And a well-played team victory by Virtue Gaming Unity, going to set them in the possibility of getting to playoffs. So we'll see if that ends up panning out for them, or if they are going to get a little bit of rough luck from the rest of the teams getting the wrong result. So hopefully we will be seeing Virtue Gaming Unity in playoffs, but whatever the case, they put up the valiant effort today to get the 2-0 victory.
And with that valiant effort, pardon me, comes an interview with the jungler for Unity. This is going to be Zohair here. Zohair, pretty well done 2-0. Some hiccups here and there. What are your thoughts on the series?
It was pretty free 2-0. Their jungle sucked, and I'm just a better player.
Yeah, you brought out the Ornn jungle in game one. What was the thought process in draft behind pivoting that Ornn into the jungle role?
We were actually doing draft prep for that. And then we said if they'd pick Udyr jungle, I'd go Ornn jungle. And then they went Udyr jungle, and then we picked Ornn jungle, and then we won.
Wow. It worked out just as you had foreseen. And with the 2-0 victory, you guys get to 4-3 on the split. If you do make it to playoffs, do you think that this momentum will carry you to a quarterfinals where you can get the victory?
Yeah, I think as a team we've been playing pretty well, and probably the best jungler in this league, so should be a free win.
Sovereign, you got any questions as well?
Yeah, Zohair, what do you think was the biggest struggle for Glaive Emerald in this series? Obviously, dropping last week after starting 5-0, now falling to 5-2. As they look into the playoffs here, what do you think they need to clean up, at least overall, to try and make a deeper run?
Game one, they definitely had a few chances if they were a bit more confident. They probably had that when we died, and then they probably had a chance to Baron, but they didn't do that. They just based instead. And then we traded Baron for Dragon, so I feel like they probably could have just done Baron instead. And then game two, they probably should have won that with the slight lead that they had on top lane.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
With that game two victory, I wanted to hear what was it that got you in position to let Arch kind of pop off there? Ended up getting 16 kills on the Xayah. Did you guys have something in comms where you knew that you were going to try to set up all the kills for Arch?
It probably just ended up happening that way, but once our Zillion was just going even in CS and we got to team fights, we just kind of won team fights and they couldn't do much. We just had a better team fight comp.
All right, fair enough.
I think we'll finish it off with one final question. Who do you think you would want to meet if playoffs were to lock today and you had your pick of the litter? Who do you think you would want to play in the first round?
Pograts.
And why might that be?
They have a cool name. I feel like that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you can. Sometimes that's all you can use. But thank you for the interview. Great 2-0 victory tonight, and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us tonight in the Week 7 matches. Everything comes to a close. Virtue Gaming Unity picking up the 2-0 over Glaive Emerald. I've been your play-by-play Sovereign. That's been the Color Tiger. Big shout out to Benjamins, who's been producing it behind the scenes, trying to put on a good show for all of you out there watching. So on behalf of all three of us, have a good night. Stay safe. Take care of each other.